lot of us are playing Star Wars Squadrons, but a lot of people are playing it on a flat screen. Myself, I'm playing a little differently in the world of VR.
The second Death Star is gone, but the Imperial fleet is still a threat. Vanguard Squadron, let's make history.
That's right, thanks to our friends over at EA and HTC, we're playing with the VIVE Cosmos Elite and some Star Wars Squadrons. I had the pleasure of jumping in the world of VR as well as the flat screen, and let me tell you, what a difference of the world of VR that this adds. The immersion, I think, that we all really want and kind of desire when we're playing a game like Squadrons. If you have the opportunity to play Squadrons in VR, this is ultimately the way to play the game. If you can withstand the motion sickness, at least for a little bit, then you definitely need to give it a try. Playing Star Wars Squadrons with the HTC VIVE Cosmos Elite was a blast to play, but again, getting back to that sickness when it comes to the world of VR, it does wear on you over time. But I was able to play a couple missions, get in there, get in, have a good time, and I found the controls were not exactly what I anticipated. If you play on a flat screen right now, you're using typically a controller, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever it may be. Well, when I put the game into VR, I also had to bring over my Xbox controller to play the game as well, not one of these. Which was probably the biggest disappointment when it came to the game in VR. The ability to use the controller from the Vive as a actual flight stick would have been phenomenal. Not really what I was anticipating when I jumped in and had to grab an actual controller. VR typically has you using their own controllers. Whether you're on the Vive or the Oculus, you typically have these handheld controllers, and that I thought would have went really well with Squadrons, but it actually still works decently well with the usual controller that we're all accustomed to. Going from Xbox over to the world of VR, I was able to simultaneously just pick up where I left off pretty well with the controller because I'm so used to playing it on both platforms. So it wasn't like I was trying to relearn the controls. But again, that extra bit of immersion with the controllers, one hand stick using for the throttle to get your thrust and up and down for the speed, and then the other as a flight stick would have been amazing. But then to cycle through all the bells and whistles that we're used to now, whether or not you want to go over and focus on your lasers or your force field or your engine, I can see why they kind of forced it into the controller scheme mechanics, because there's a lot more give and take, I guess you could say, in that aspect. But if you have the chance, like I said, Star Wars Squadrons, I believe, is probably one of the most incredible experiences I've had in VR. And if you have the chance, it's definitely one you gotta try. Star Wars Squadrons feels like it was meant for VR, and based on the way the game actually plays out, it looks like it was designed that way initially in the first place. If you ever play this on the actual consoles, well, you know as well as I do, when you get to the hangar, that you're just bouncing around. You're using a teleport mechanic, often found in the world of VR. So when I was playing in VR, it felt very at home. But when you go over to the consoles, it seemed a little weird that I couldn't go around in the hangar. But if you're going with VR, I see why they went that way, but it would have been nice to go around and explore the hangar. And when you're in the cockpits, well, there's nothing like panning your head around and shooting at other TIE fighters or starfighters, depending on which angle you're playing at the time, because you're back and forth within the story. But being able to pivot your head and just look and focus everywhere else was really cool. And the way the cinematics play out, it's kind of like a big movie screen instead of being right immersed into it. It's kind of takes you out of a little bit of the experience, but then when you actually start playing the game, you're right back in, and again, like nothing you've ever played before. And if you're a Star Wars fan, it's probably the best way to play.
Hello, Vanguard. Welcome to the Nadiri dockyards.
One of my spies has linked the attacks with the New Republic Starhawk project.
Making my attack run now.
Let's make this count.